Alright, so today we're going to be taking a much closer look at the rational soul. Alright? We as humans, we have a rational soul. So the first step there is to identify the powers or abilities that the rational soul imparts onto the humans that possess one. So we have a rational soul. Okay, so as a rational soul, we have the abilities of all three of the souls. We have vegetative, sensitive, and rational powers. Rational powers being the intellect and the will. Now, it's important to make the distinction between the soul and its powers, because remember, the soul is the form of the human, okay? So when we have a human, please write, thank you. When we have a human, all right, just like anything in the world, it's divided into matter and it's divided into form, okay? Now, in that distinction, the matter of the human is the human's body, the form is the soul, okay? The form is not the powers of the soul. Because the soul, because it's the form, it's the primary act of a substance. The primary act, the first act of any substance is to exist as its substantial form. Okay? Now, all of the secondary acts, we're going to write that over here, all of the secondary acts come as a result of accidental forms. Okay, so let me present you with this scenario. All right? Your brother is in the hospital, okay? And the doctor just came to you, he gave you the terrible news, your brother's in a vegetative state, and there's little hope that he'll ever emerge. Now, gruesome story, but bear with me. Because he is in a vegetative state, he's unable to perform any secondary acts. So we know that the first act is to exist. The secondary acts are anything apart from that, okay? So my first act as a human is to exist as a human. One of my secondary acts is making this video, teaching this. One of my secondary acts is being able to put on my clothes, being able to speak. Anything that is not your primary act is your secondary act. But here's the thing, when you are in a vegetative state, you are unable to speak, you are unable to move, you are unable to think, really. So you possess a lack of most, if not all, of your secondary acts. So what that means is that the powers that you possess are similar to those of the vegetative powers. Meaning you've lost locomotion, you've lost sensation, you've lost intellect. Even when all of your secondary acts disappear, your first act never disappears. You never stop existing until the day you die. And because in a vegetative state you're still alive, it means you're still human and you still have a rational soul. You still have a soul. Your soul, a rational soul, can never go from rational down to sensitive or down to vegetative. Okay? It can never do that. That is a substantial change that humans don't have the potency for. We do have the potency for death, meaning either you have your rational soul or you don't, in which case you have died. So what that tells us is that even though you're in a vegetative state, you're still human, so we can't kill you. I know, sadly, right? All right, so the rational soul has two intrinsic characteristics that set it apart from the other two souls. The rational soul is spiritual, and the rational soul is subsistent. Now let's go further into depth as to what exactly these two words mean. This relates to the soul's ability to exist and perform its abilities outside of the material realm. So let me give you an example. We have the vegetative powers. What are these vegetative powers? They are of nourishment, they are of growth, and they are of reproduction. Okay? Now, these three powers do not exist outside the material world. You must eat material food for nourishment. Your material body must grow, and your material body must reproduce. Okay? All material powers. Let's move on to the sensitive powers. Appetition, the ability to desire something, again, purely material. The rational appetition and the sensitive appetition are different in that sense. The rational appetition allows for the rational soul to desire things that are immaterial. However, the sensitive appetition does not have that ability. It is strictly constrained to the material world. Sensation, those are your 5 external senses, and locomotion. I don't think I need to go into that one. But then you have the rational powers. The rational powers of intellect and will are not bound to the material world. With your intellect, you can take in forms, you can take in, we're going to call them sense images of the world around you, and you can formulate them into a percept, something immaterial, a condensed sense image. And then with your intellect, you are able to further modify that immaterial image within your mind to create a phantasm. All right? This process that we learned, a couple units back is in no way material. The forms of things are not material. The matter is. Our will is also not constrained to this world. All right? Our will is a mental capacity. It is our motivation, so to speak. It is what allows us to choose, to decide, to act. So that's what we mean by spiritual. It has a spiritual aspect. It can exist beyond a tangible plane of existence. This, in my opinion, is one of the most important parts of the rational soul, because a subsistent soul is able to exist outside of its material body. When you kill a plant, the vegetative soul dies with it. When you kill an animal, the sensitive soul dies with it. But when you kill a human, the rational soul does not die. The rational soul is subsistent. It continues on beyond death so that it can be reunited with another spiritual matter in heaven, so you can continue to exist in heaven. That's the only reason you're able to exist in heaven, because if your soul died when you died, there would be no afterlife. So the law of cause and effect states that no effect can be greater than its cause. The way we're going to use that in our Christian humanism course is we're going to make the argument that a spiritual soul cannot be created by a material being. Only a material soul can be created by a material being. A spiritual soul would have to be created by a spiritual being. We are not spiritual beings. We have spiritual souls, but we have material bodies. So we are not spiritual beings. God, however, is a spiritual being. So if God creates the spiritual soul, that means God is an intrinsic part of our procreation. We would not be able to procreate without God's influence. So now let's look at the converse of that statement. When animals reproduce, they are capable of reproducing without the influence of God, because they only have material souls. And remember, material beings are only capable of reproducing with material souls. Now, I want you to pay attention to my use of the word here, creates. All right? We need to make a distinction here, okay? Creates is not the same as the word makes, okay? When God creates something, he doesn't build it, okay? He does not take materials and formulate them into something else. That's not how a soul is made. A soul is created out of nothing. There was nothing to start, and it became something. It came into being. That's what creation means, to take nothing and make it something. The word make is not the same. To make something, you have to take, let's say, ink, plastic, and a stamp, and assemble them into a marker. Makes is synonymous with assembles. Okay, so St. Thomas made this very interesting statement. He claimed that it's better to be act than it is to be potency. Okay? It's better to be actualized than it is to remain a potential. All right? Now let's analyze what that means. If I have the potential to eat an ice cream cone, it's better for me to be eating that ice cream cone than only having the money to buy said ice cream cone. And he said beings of actuality are superior to beings of potency. All right? Now, that allows us to make sort of a gradient chart with all of the different types of beings that exist, as far as we know. So this is sort of a gradient between pure act, pure actuality, and pure potency. Okay? So we learned back in, I think it was chapter 3 or chapter 4, about prime matter, and we learned about secondary matter. Prime matter is pure potency because it does not have any form. All right? The form of something actualizes the matter. The form actualizes the matter, okay? So something that is only matter and no form is pure potency, and something that is only form and no matter is pure actuality. So I hope you enjoy the new intro we made. I'm going to be keeping this marker on me at all times now. It's so useful. And I encourage you to take the self-assessment. But anyway, enjoy life and thank you for your time.